I know it's a really hot topic right now. A lot of people are arguing if, is attachment parenting good? When should you breastfeed your children? All these random questions, and there's so many topics to this that we could discuss. But I think the first thing I just want to say to everybody out there is that, what rules and kind of feelings you have of what's comfortable and right in your country is, just usually right for your country. And then when you get to other countries, it's really not fair or cool to be pushing out your opinions onto everybody else. And Americans are known for doing that. It's one of our worst qualities. We go around trying to push everyone around to do what we do at home. And it just doesn't work that way. But one of the things I noticed from that, for example, is when we had our children here, it's common to sleep all together in the same room simply because there's no room. People don't have room in their homes, so they all sleep together. Now, our house, we do have room, but, and at first, with my first daughter, I was trying really hard to live my American way, and I raised my daughter by putting her in a separate room, and we had a crib, and everything was like that. And then with my second daughter, I was like, forget about it, I'm just going to sleep with her, and it was so much easier. It was like heaven. So we were all sleeping together anyway on the little futons, which are not like futons in the States, which are big couches. Futon in Japan is just a nice, fairly thin but really strong mattress that you sleep on the floor in a tatami room. And we all sleep in there together, and it was so nice and easy to just be with my daughter that way when she was a little newborn baby, because it was super easy to take care of her. I got a lot more sleep, and everybody was just a lot happier, I think. And I think, you look at that kind of experience of seeing what I saw here, living and growing up, spending time here, and yet having grown up in the States, I think you get a perspective that you can kind of look at things differently. So I know a lot of people in the States are like, oh my gosh, you sleep with your child, it's so dangerous. And it's like, yeah, if I was sleeping on a big fluffy bed like everybody in the States sleeps on, it would be dangerous. But in Japan, it's not. The blankets and bedding are completely different. And, there's a lot of other countries where families all sleep together, and that's kind of a norm. And I think people trying to decide and declare what is a good parenting technique maybe can't be globally spread everywhere. You have to kind of consider culture and customs in the country that you're talking about. So similarly, I know bath time is a good example. In the States, it's children only in the bath and that's it, and then get out, and maybe when you have a brother and a sister, you take a bath together, but then like by the time you're, first grade, it's a no-no, and everybody's separated, and that's just normal there, and that's totally cool. You don't, people don't argue that, but in Japan, everybody takes a bath together too, especially, it's really common because fathers don't get to spend a lot of time with their children. It's really common for fathers to take a bath with the children, and that's like their time to be with the kids, because they've been at work and they didn't get any time to be with the baby or any time to be with their really small children. Now, this is only true for really small kids, but about by the time, first and second grade even still, you see kids still taking a bath together. Boys and girls, and that's just kind of normal, and certainly not looked down upon or thought weird or in any way like predatory in any way. That's just normal. But if you try to talk about that to people in the States, they think, oh my gosh, that's terrible, oh, that's disgusting, and it's just really tricky because it's not, the rules don't work for the whole world. You have to follow what works for the country you're in. So I think, I wouldn't suggest obviously to everybody and all my friends to, go ahead and start bathing with your children, because obviously socially people there are not ready to accept that as part of what we do. But I think, there's some times where you have to kind of open your mind a little to the fact that maybe it's not just a question of what is the best parenting technique, but it's also kind of what you do in that country too. So those are sort of things to consider, I think, on the whole topic. But I'd be curious what everybody from other countries does. I think, we always tend to hear America's voice the loudest because everybody there is so loud that we forget what other countries do and that it works really great for them. I don't think you could really say very definitively that all Japanese kids grew up to be weird because they slept with their parents until they were in second grade and took a bath with their dad. That isn't true. I think as a whole, people here are fairly, well-adjusted people. So, I think when you consider that, you realize that there are a lot of different ways of parenting and a lot of different ways of raising your child. And I really think it should really just be about instinct. You should just get a vibe of what to do, and that should be the way to do it. I think that's what I felt really with my second kid. I forced myself to do it a certain way with my first child, and I was miserable. And the second time, I just did what I thought was right, and everything was perfect. So I think if you kind of feel and trust that, you know, we're born with that innately as animals to know how to take care of our young. So whatever way works, I think is good. You know, a lot of people talk about the attachment parenting. It makes me laugh because I think, well, like, if you, you know, live in some third world countries, you see people walking with their children strapped to them all the time, and that's out of necessity, not because they think they're raising their children in this beautiful, unique way. You know, I think when you put that perspective, it kind of makes us realize what's right and what's wrong, and maybe what people should be thinking about. So